What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to dissect another episode of Superman the Animated Series. Today, we will be getting into the Season 1 episode, The Way of All Flesh. If you don't want no spoilers sitting in the passenger side of his best friend's ride trying to holler at you, then turn this video off because I'm going to sum up the plot of the episode with lots of spoilers before I get into the review itself. You have been warned. Remember John Corbin, the Kasdian mercenary who was involved in Lex Luthor's arm-dealing ploy from the 3-part series premiere? Well, John Corbin remembers you. Oh, but for real, he's in prison and he's sick with a rare virus that will kill him unless he undergoes a special treatment that, on the plus side, will save his life and give him super strength and invulnerability, but on the downside will take away his ability to feel pleasure, like kissing on women, smelling flowers, and eating fine foods. But he only finds that out after the operation and a throwdown with Superman. So now he's mad at Luthor, and when Superman tells him that Luthor actually gave him the virus, he's even angrier. Metallo falls over Luthor's yacht into the ocean, where Luthor thinks he won't have to worry about him anymore. Cue credits. So this is maybe my favorite episode of the series so far. If it's not my favorite episode, it's definitely got my favorite villain introduction to date. Toyman was creepy, sure, and I hate that his dad died, but he was evil as soon as we met him, and we don't get his tragic backstory till close to the 3rd act, and even then, we're getting one side of the truth. Toyman refuses to acknowledge that while Mannheim did betray Schott's dad, his dad willingly worked with Mannheim, a man he knew was in the mob, making the betrayal sting a little bit less. And Parasite, we barely get a chance to get to know him before his transformation, which signaled his instant turn to supervillainy, making him even less sympathetic than Toyman. But Corbin by far has the most compelling and tragic origin so far. Yeah, he's a hired gun, so we're not supposed to feel too bad for him, but what can I say? He's taking his prison time like a champ, he's not ratting out the guy who really should be rotting in jail with him. It's kind of hard for me not to feel a little bit bad for him. And I'll admit, I haven't read A Wide Berth of Metallo's story, so it's possible I missed something somewhere, but I don't think I've ever seen a story where Metallo is actually upset at his transformation until this episode. That's like every day that ends in Y for Robot Man, but Metallo is usually psyched to have a power source that can kill Superman. And while that does excite Metallo here, it matters a lot less to him than the pleasures he has denied in his new robot form. Much like how a very interesting aspect was ignored in the case of Toyman and Parasite in later appearances, I am surprised we didn't have further development of Metallo losing pleasure in future appearances. Maybe the creators felt there wasn't more that they could do with it beyond Metallo whining about it, but I think they could have gotten at least one more episode out of this aspect of the character. Not to rewrite what these folks did in this show and later in Justice League, but maybe they could have had Cadmus use Metallo in much the same way that Luthor tried to do here. We know by the time we get to Justice League Unlimited that they are capable of creating clones, so maybe they could have offered Metallo a new version of his human body after performing certain jobs for them. Maybe he could have been in a Task Force X episode. I think that could have been pretty neat, but maybe a counter-argument could be that by then Metallo was over it and was a broody mess that doesn't give any you-know-whats anymore, so he wouldn't bother trusting people like Cadmus when he's been burned before. Much like Toyman and Parasite, I am surprised we didn't see Metallo more often than we did in this series. For 3 seasons and 54 episodes total, we only get to see him in Metallo form in 4 episodes. Yeah, there are other villains that they could hit up before they need to start reusing villains they've already used before, but as I've said before, Superman's rogues gallery isn't as plentiful as Batman's, so I'm always surprised by how seldom some of these villains showed up in this series. I guess if some of the lesser known villains showed up any more than they did, it would have begun to add up. If Metallo showed up as often as I would have liked for him to, then it would have been a 5th of the series, and I guess that would have been excessive. Anyway, I dug this episode. Best of the bunch so far. Hope you guys liked the episode and my review of it. In the meantime, I'll be seeing you guys next week with more videos, so you guys have a good one. Catch you later.